variety of vertical segments. So we have banks, we have insurance companies, both life, general health. We have retail customers, airlines, BPOs, which again serve a variety of verticals. So it's pretty much telecom companies, so pretty much all the major vertical segments we cater to. We also cater to some very interesting segments around manufacturing and home decor segments who ultimately touch consumers. So it's a very interesting mix of customers that we have.
So, in retail, do you also cover e-commerce?
That's correct. So when I meant retail, it's e-retail, so
It's
which is
e-retail,
e-commerce.
Another physical retail.
No.
Okay. So, contact center includes a lot of channels. So, is social media also part of it?
Yes. So what we what we essentially do, as you would have seen it today in the presentations, the role of contact center has changed over the years. Traditionally, we always had voice contact centers, which means the customers are either calling, greeted by an automated system, and then ultimately talking to a supervisor or an agent or a subject matter expert. But that role has changed over a lot because today customers are demanding that they would like to contact the service provider through multiple channels, right? That those channels could be email, web, text, IM, social media, or voice, which still remains, or even video now. So when you have this complexity coming in, your contact center essentially, which used to be call center earlier, now has become contact center, integrates all these multiple channels into it, and then you serve it. So all are pretty much part of it. And the important piece is that we actually call it omni-channel, which means there is a contextual handover from one channel to another. So if you send an SMS and then call, the person who answers the call at the other end would know that you already sent a text, what is the query that you have, and then you will be treated accordingly.
Okay. So, can you name some customers in India?
I'm not liberty to give a lot of names because we have NDAs with customers, but few names that we already have case studies with I can share. One customer that you saw today on stage is Asian Paints. They are into a home improvement business and they do the entire customer experience, including their partner management through us. We work very closely with RBL Bank. We work with Aditya Birla Group, which is a financial segment, Max Bupa Healthcare, and few BPOs like Concentrix and others. And of course, we use in the e-retail segment that you asked, we work with the two large players, Home Shop 18 as well as Naptol.
What is the biggest challenge in this category that you are operating? And what change have you seen since 40 years of Aspect's history?
Okay, so there is a tremendous amount of change, both from consumer experience as well as technical evolution. Right? If you look at 40 years back, or rather when Aspect sort of started the first ACD, there was straight up call center, right? So there are series of people who are actually waiting to take answers, right? They were like more of user interface. They're helping the customer to navigate, to buy and do simple tasks which today can be done through self-service. And then of course we had the evolution of bringing all the component into one technological box, and Aspect was the first one to come out with something called which is unified platform, which integrated self-service, email, chat, voice, everything into one platform as opposed to discrete components. And Aspect really pioneered that. And now we move to a next phase wherein we now sort of moved from this all-in-one complexity to an omni-channel capability, wherein we now have very clear contextual handoff between various channels. So that's the evolution on the technological side of it. But if you look at from a customer side of it, a lot has changed, right, in every single business. Today, customers were earlier calling for maybe doing simple tasks, but today there's a lot of self-service channels which have started through his mobile app, through websites, through another text-based self-service channels, and then now customers are now calling the call center to get some expert advice. And that's a big change that we are seeing, and these changes are obviously because of several advancement in technologies, seismic shifts around social media, mobility, cloud infrastructure analytics, but also demographics is playing a very, very important role. The traditional people many years back, they like to operate with the service provider in a particular way, but people who are young people right now who are more tech savvy, and they sort of work in a completely different way, and they want to interact. They want to do everything self-service. They want to make sure that it fits into the lifestyle. They want to know that when they call a service provider, they must know my background. Why am I calling? Who am I? Right? So those are the important things that are happening, and this is basically what we call as relationship revolution, which means earlier businesses were deciding how they would like to be contacted, and today customers are deciding that how they will contact the service provider. It's a complete paradigm shift. So the control really is moved from businesses to the consumer, and this is what we call as relationship revolution, because now the control is with consumer and they will decide which model, which channel, and which time of the day they would like to reach out to the service provider.
But how has the adoption of a contact center grown? Are more and more brands adopting it, or there are still industries and brands which are still not doing it?
Oh, contact center adoption has gone leaps and bounds as many years. If you look at in India, contact center sort of started almost 20 years back. It started with few captive contact centers, which were internal outsourcing of a lot of US corporations, and that's how it sort of started. And then we had this entire BPO wave for many years that we had. Parallelly, all the other traditional consumers of contact center like banks and insurance companies, telecom providers, they all sort of started. So today, any business which directly touches the consumer has a contact center. It could be as simple as ticketing, airline, it could be a train booking, it could be a movie ticket booking, it could be shopping, it could be banking, it could be as complex as in buying insurance online, everything, anything which touches the customer, contact centers are in there.
Who are your competitors in India?
Oh, we work with variety of competition. So we work with, we have Avaya, Cisco, Genesys as our main competitors in the marketplace. Of course, offerings from each competitor differs in a way, but we do believe that some of the path-breaking stuff that Aspect has now, we really don't have much of competition on those.
How big is the opportunity in India?
India, if you look at from Frost and Sullivan perspective, the contact center market is including the application piece of it is close to about $85 million, and it's growing at a rate of about 5% CAGR.
And how much of this have you tapped so far?
So Aspect is in the range of, our market share is in range of about 10% at this from a pure play contact center perspective. Of course, there are a variety of ways to measure it, and but I think with the growth that we have seen in last 2 years, we aim to have a larger pie of this very soon.
Who is the leader in the pure play contact center?
The leader, it depends on which side you look at. So if you look at from an outbound perspective in India, Avaya leads the way. If you look at quality monitoring, there are players like Nice and Verint who lead the way. But if you look at outbound, Aspect is number one market share. Aspect essentially holds over 40% of market share in outbound.
In outbound, okay. How much margins are there? How big is this business in terms of revenue generation?
It's very difficult to estimate the revenue because I'm not allowed to share revenue numbers. But being an OEM, I think it's a software application business which has a lot of stickiness along with the services. So it's a profitable business that we do. We definitely aim, to give a very profitable business model to our channel partners who actually work with us, so that they have, a services component, they have the resale component, and they also have the annuity component when they make a sale.
You didn't have the cloud version of contact center and workforce optimization until last year. So this has been introduced last year only, late last year or this year? Okay,
so workforce management has been a jewel for Aspect for many years, and Aspect has actually globally is number one player for workforce management for many years, including now. So this product has been around. What we did last year was we came out with a very path-breaking version called WFO 8.1, which was a complete refreshed way of doing business. It was a complete new look and feel. The interface is really refreshing. It's meant for today's users. It's meant for the supervisors and agents. It's really appealing, and it also sort of extends to other devices like your iPad and mobile phone. So that's the new version that we came up with. but that's been around for a long time. Uh, as far as cloud's concerned, it all really started for us in 2013, and then we sort of built from there. So we now have a solid offering on variety of things. So in terms of cloud, we have capability to offer public clouds, private cloud, managed services, software as a service, and platform as a service.
But otherwise, it is also available as on-premise, cloud,
Of
and
course,
hybrid.
yes. So in simplest term, it's available on-premise, it's available private cloud or a hybrid cloud.
Okay. And in terms of revenues, your maximum revenues come from workforce software, or contact center, or back office integration software.
So a back office integration is something which is new for us, and we've introduced last year. So those are early days still. However, our bulk of revenues is around our unified IP platform, and
For contact center.
for contact center, workforce is an integral part of it. But if you look at from a mix, almost about 25% of revenues come from workforce management.
Okay, and maximum come from contact center.
Yes.
Since how long have you been in India?
Aspect as a company is in India for over more than a decade.
And how much you would have invested so far?
So India has been a very strategic location for us. In terms of, if you look at, we started with a simple sales operations. We operate out of 3 locations in India, which is Gurgaon, Mumbai, and Bangalore. And over the last 3 years, we have made India the biggest hub for us globally. So today we have over 450 associates in India. They are engaged in sales, marketing, R&D, quality assurance, aspect customer care, professional services, center of excellence, and our shared services.
What is the importance for workforce management software?
So workforce management software is a tool which essentially automates your complete workforce management, which means that for all the staff that you have in the contact center, it allows you to distribute the work, it allows to schedule, it allows to match the right skills with the right competence, with the right job. It also does the rostering, it also does assessment on your training, analysis. It also sort of predicts the volumes that you have based on the historical pattern. It has the ability to do forecasting of call volumes. So at any point in time, if you are expecting, if for example, if you as a company created a marketing promotion and you expect more customers to call, so workforce management has an ability to predict number of customers that will be calling your call center, so that you are equipped with more extra manpower to take those calls. So it has the ability to doing the forecasting as well. So it's a complete automated tool which essentially runs your contact center, measures every single thing what happens in your contact center in a very, very efficient way.
In 5 years from now, how is this industry going to change?
So if you look at 5 years from now, there is a tremendous amount of shift which is happening on consumer experience. So we are talking about consumer engagement 2020, which is sort of perfect vision as 2020. And why we call it consumer engagement, because if you give a good experience to your consumers, they will be engaged, and when they are engaged, it's more business for you. The way the industry is changing is the preferences of all the customers are changing dramatically. I talked about relationship revolution. If you look at today, the trends are moving all towards being more self-service, right? Customers are wanting to know, when I call somebody, you need to know me. You need to make it mobile. Make me do it, right? Fit it into my lifestyle and make it really simple for me. Now these are complete paradigm shifts in consumer engagements than we had ever before. And the way Aspect is responding to it is, Aspect has created a new consumer reference framework which has self-service at its bottom, and wherein you have omni-channel self-service, so you can actually interact from any channel and yet get the work done through self-service. On top of it, the next level would be more peer-to-peer communities, which is to do with social, online communities, and then people are able to sort of navigate through that. And of course, when the final thing comes in, when you really need an expert advice, then you reach out to the agents, whose role is now changing as more of subject matter expert. And and if you look at from a cost standpoint, the cost to service the customers actually is the lowest when it is self-service. So the cost actually goes up when you go towards an agent-led model. So we see a dramatic shift in these matters, and I think in times to come, the volumes of voice will definitely go down, and omni-channel call volumes will significantly come up.
On a separate note, I've observed that enterprise IT companies don't really scale up that much as consumer IT companies.
Mm-hmm.
We have several examples even in US only. Companies that have started in the 90s have grown to become $50 billion companies in terms of revenue. But Aspect, having started 40 years ago, it's still around $445 million revenue. So do you agree with this, that enterprise companies have sort of disadvantage here in terms of achieving scale?
So it depends on what your focus areas are and what your business is essentially. So, I wouldn't like to comment on each company's business model, but the way Aspect is essentially looking at looking at growing faster than the market. Right. Today, our clear revenue streams are the on-premise revenues as well as cloud revenues, and we are seeing growth on both of these. Right.
So the maximum comes from where?
Maximum, of course, is on-premise, which is our bread and butter. But I think our cloud revenues are growing significantly. At this time, our overall cloud revenues are in excess of $150 million. So, in times to come, you will definitely see more revenues coming in because now we have expanded our portfolio from almost 2 products to 19 products. We've extended our solution capability. We extended our deployment flexibility models from on-premise to a variety of others that I talked about. And these are the ones which will actually fuel more growth for us.
So Aspect is solving end user customers and end customers need. So do you plan to launch a product which can be used by end customers?
See, Aspect is in business of enabling enterprises to serve their consumer better.
But right. There's a broader opportunity to serve customers directly also.
Not in our
Enable
business.
them to maybe.
Yeah, so we are focused on tools and technologies which ultimately are consumed by the end customers. But those are sort of enabled by our enterprise customers who are our end customers. So we sort of operate in a more B2B space and enable our enterprises who are customers to sort of serve their end customers.
Okay, I was thinking about this because maybe the revenue opportunity in serving customers directly will be higher.
See, we are in a contact center company, right? So any individual customer would not have a contact center, right? It's only a service provider who will really have a customer touch point. So for us, it doesn't make sense to go into anything which is end customer led.
Okay. Any other thing do you think I missed out on?
So overall, if you look at, I think Aspect's direction clearly for next 3 to 5 years is adopting all the changes which are happening on the technology side globally, adopting to all the changes which the customer experience is driving, and we do believe that we are at forefront of technology advancement, that we have ability to offer needs and solutions for all the customers that we have. So we are well placed in terms of leading the marketplace. We do believe that we have a very compelling story. We have a compelling solution proposition for our customers, and will be very successful in the marketplace.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.